Hello and welcome to the Deep Dive Perspective Talks. Today we're talking actually about Iran and Israel. The war has already rapidly turned into a kind of tentative ceasefire, if you can call it that, because it seems as soon as it was announced, Israel bombed Iran. Israel alleges that Iran also attacked it. Who knows? The reality is that we've got two powers with nuclear, ballistic, and other weaponry aimed at each other, and a danger of a regional war. America is, of course, deeply involved in this. To what extent is America sincere in trying to create a peace deal? To what extent is America actually just buying Israel more time? There is really a quagmire which the whole world would have to face. And we were on the precipice because Iran, I think, was on the verge of pulling the Hormuz Strait out of the equation in terms of shutting down 20% of the energy supplies to the world. Should such things happen, should nuclear weapons come into the equation, then it's not something restricted to Iran and Israel. It involves the entire world. What is the world going to do about this? What responsibility does the international community have to avert the disaster that is still, I think, hanging over the heads of the entire planet? With me on the show today to discuss this and much more is Professor Chaim Breshith, who's an activist. Welcome, Professor.
I'm glad to be with you. Thanks.
Welcome, sir. And you're a filmmaker, you've a committed activist for the Palestinian freedom cause. You've been an IDF soldier in your very early days, a really fascinating history in itself, but therefore you're kind of very, very close to what's going on in this situation. As you've seen the situation develop over the last, say, 9 or 10 days, what's been your assessment of it? What was your take about what you were seeing?
Well, one thing which is not to do with Iran, but I want to mention at the very beginning of our talk, is the fact that Gaza is off the map. Gaza is off the media. This helps Israel to normalize the genocide. And every day, between 60 and 150 people died, but we don't hear about it anymore. The only reporting about it is on social media and channels such as yourself. And this is a terrifying effect. The world has failed the test of genocide, the first genocide of this century. We have failed the test. So this is not because of Iran, but Iran, of course, is more dramatic than looking at what is happening in Gaza, because it's been happening on our screens for the last 2 years almost. So just to remind people that this is one of the effects of Israel fighting wars everywhere. Also, while the war with Iran was on the screens, the attacks that Israel committed against Lebanon were hardly reported anywhere. So Israel is fighting between 3 and 5 fronts at any point in time. But we normally concentrate just on one of those fronts, and Iran is the most dramatic. Now, the Iranians are not easily fooled. They know the West. They know colonialism. They know their tricks. Colonialism is basically a parasitic disease of the West. And Zionism is the most virulent strain of this disease. It's very difficult to actually say that Zionism is a servant of imperialism. Sometimes the whole machinery of imperialism of the West seems to be at the behest of Zionism instead. So these two work together. Israel is a very strong example of current imperialism. And sometimes it runs the show, like in the last few years, it has been running the show. It doesn't matter who sits in the White House. They do what they're told. The difference with Trump is that nobody knows what he will come up with in the next minute, let alone the next day. So this is the first time that the most powerful nation on earth is run by, a social media comedian. A comedian who is not actually all there. He's actually using social media as a better form of sex, yeah? And he obviously gets a great kick from moving the world left, right, up, down every day. And he will continue to do this until the Americans will realize that nobody takes them seriously anymore. This has started even before he became president. So that's the first thing that we need to think when we come to Iran. Now, Iran is one of the oldest and most mature cultures of anywhere, and therefore they're treating I'm not talking about all the Iranian regimes. For example, the Shah regime was very different, but this current government, which we might find a lot to criticize in, I'm actually having a lot of time for, because they didn't want a nuclear bomb. They still would like to do without it, but the West is actually doing all it can, and so does Israel, as its main agent, to persuade them that without a nuclear bomb, you will just suffer. And, North Korea is an example, Pakistan is an example, India is an example, and of course Israel is an example. Now, in Britain, on the mainstream media, we don't even hear about the people with nuclear weapons. That is, the Israelis and the Americans. That's okay. It's okay for them to have nuclear weapons. It's okay for them not to have any international control and monitoring of their nuclear weapons. But it's not okay for those who haven't got nuclear weapons to even want them. Not that the Iranians really wanted them. They have social needs that are more important. So what we have here is, in a sense, the fact that we don't hear about Gaza is hiding the more important fact that it's all about Gaza. Gaza has become a litmus test of humanity, because that's the shining example of how the West treats people that it can suppress and subdue. So it's, on the one hand, a laboratory of armament and a laboratory of methods of destruction, which Gaza is helping to commercialialize and to market. This is the task of Gaza, and the task of the Gazan people is to die quickly or be removed to the ends of the earth. I mean, as far as the Israelis are concerned, they would remove them to the planets, but they haven't managed to do that, which is quite a measure of the standing power of the Palestinians. In all those 8 decades, Israel has not managed to totally ethnically cleanse Palestine. So that's an achievement.
You raise lots of very, very interesting points, and I'm going to go with one. This connection that you make with Palestine and the more recent flare-up between Israel and Iran is important, because at the birth of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, it was very clear that Ayatollah Khomeini, the spiritual father of the revolution, was very committed to Palestine in a genuine way, because even under the repression of the Shah, when he stood up to denounce him in his early days back in the 50s or 60s, it was clear that he was committed then, and he had meetings, I think, with Palestinian officials and was committed to the idea of a free Palestine. Now, that in 1979 becomes really cemented. And you had initiatives like the Al-Quds Day. I know you've spoken to people like IHRC and Shajri, who organised Al-Quds Day here in London. There are many in other parts of the world as well. But it does seem as though Iran isn't insincere about its kind of own position, that actually Palestine is a non-negotiable. Now, what people were looking at in the war, as Israel attacked Iran and Iran started attacking them back, there was an allegation by what I call takfiris within the Muslim fraternity, those who are quietly kind of working for imperialism, but are actually pretending that they want caliphates and they are against all of the Arab monarchies, and they're against the Islamic Revolution, they're against the axis of resistance. They're not really for Palestine, but they pretend that they're for Palestinians as well. There's an interesting crowd there in the middle. They allege that actually Iran had no interest in Palestine, and actually it's just about defending themselves or about their nuclear facilities. Do you think it's deeper than that? Do you think Iran actually would let go of the Palestinian cause if they were given the right deal?
I don't think so. They are not interested in this because they understand that what is happening in Gaza is now happening in Tehran, and will be much worse if they actually let go of their weapons and their guarding the around Zionism, being part of the front against Zionism. Zionism is really a disease of imperialism. It's a subgenre, and it's very toxic. And without actually, it's not just about Gaza or Palestine, but it's about the whole Middle East. And Gaza and Palestine are the examples held to the world. Do mind what you do, because if you don't, this is what will happen to you. Gaza will become your own fate. And they know that. They have prepared, an army and, a fleet of missiles and drones and so on, because they are under danger of not just regime change, but they don't want to become the next Syria or the next Iraq or the next Somalia or Sudan, all great victories of the West against humanity. So Iran is an old culture, and they are not easily fooled. And they can't really be told Palestine is not important. Palestine, they understand, and they say, all the time, is important because it is what happens when you allow Israel free reign. As long as Zionism is actually sitting on hundreds of nuclear bombs, and on the actually sitting on the West, it's sitting in all the capitals of the West, controlling the politicians, controlling the most important and the strongest states on the planet. There will be no peace, no security, no safety, and no justice for anyone, not just in the Middle East. We're suffering in Britain now. We don't have our rights to free speech, to demonstrate, to act against war, act against genocide. We have lost those rights because of our government involvement in the genocide in Gaza, and also involvement against Iran. So this is just an example of Britain, but this is true about the whole West. And Iran understands that it's not fighting Israel. It's not even fighting just Israel and the United States. It is fighting Western imperialism. And any letdown will actually bring about a defeat for a lot of other people in the Middle East. And Iran is, I think, a serious and responsible society. So they stick with the Palestinian case because it dramatizes the problem that every society in the Middle East is facing. As long as Israel is allowed to do what it is doing, there is no safety. And they want to live in safety. They want to live in peace. They want to live also in prosperity. Iran is a rich country, and the West has been fighting it since not 1980, but actually since the 50s, as you pointed out. The 1953 coup was arranged by MI6 and the CIA. Britain and the US are behind everything that is harming people in the Middle East, and Israel is the arm that does it. It's not a robotic arm. It's an arm with a will and with the power to decide over the brains that move it. So Iran is not likely to leave Palestine behind. I don't believe that. As long as the Islamic Republic is there and controls it, and I would like them to be more relaxed about their own people, about the question of women, etc. I would like them to do that, and maybe others would. But the point is, they are holding Iran in one piece. They don't want to become the next Syria, and that's right. They should not allow that to happen.
Well, we saw the power of what you were hinting at, really, the power of Zionism, Israel, the deep state, MI6, CIA. I've stopped creating distinctions between them, actually, in my own mind, I have to admit, because they seem to be so, they're so permeable. They're so osmotic in their kind of relationship that it's difficult to know where one stops and the other begins. They share information, they share data, they share AI, surveillance technology and all the other technologies and all the kind of science around nuclear weapons, etc. It seems as though it's like an open door. And actually, Unit 8200 and all of the facts, which actually Loki particularly has been working very hard on, and I've seen him break down, who's behind Elbit, who's behind, the various companies and systems that are out there, and he's done a sort of forensic deep dive on these things. But the more information we see, it simply confirms the hunch that many of us had, that actually this is an entire very flexible organic system of empire, which is serving its own purposes. And we saw that power demonstrated to a great extent in the first salvo that Israel did against Iran. They managed to take out probably 7 or 8 line commanders within the Iranian establishment, the IRGC in particular. Now that's an awesome feat, to be able to get hold of the information, the intelligence, to be able to do that. But when they did it, they actually wiped out a lot of their families too. So you could see that actually there is still that same savagery and that barbarity we saw within the taking out of the likes of Yahya Sinwar or any of the Palestinian leadership. Again, keeping that theme going. You can see that the same lack of regard for civilian life was there. You could see that they wanted to use AI and technology in any way they can to destroy their enemy, their opponent. They're also very adept at being able to create insurgencies and terror groups and spy networks within those nations. These are all bound to be more indications of just how much collaboration and just how much intel sharing the US, the Israelis, the MI6, etc. do before they conduct these operations. So it can't all be blamed on Israel. Would you agree with that contention?
Of course, it can't be blamed all on Israel, because Israel is the thin edge of the Western wedge. So behind Israel, there is a very forceful, powerful Western diseased and decaying imperialism. Now, one thing that shows us the depths of decay and decline of the West is its deep investment in destruction. The West is not very good at building systems. For example, Trump himself pointed out that there isn't in the US a single airport that is modern. And if you go to anywhere in Asia, you see airports that work 100 times better than the American airports. The same is true about, trains and all systemic things that need social funding are behind now in the West, and especially in UK, US. They are really not investing in society, they are investing in destruction. These are signs of decay. Now, Israel is the best example of it because it specializes in destruction. And Gaza is the best example in history of the destructive power of empire. Yes, Israel is, the most toxic edge of that wedge. But this is true about every part of the system. And it didn't start in October 7th, it didn't start in the 50s. It's probably something that developed quietly and slowly during the 20th century and comes into fruition once they move into Vietnam, destroy a country that is 20,000 miles away and never done anything to America. They totally destroy the society. They kill millions of people, destroy the cities, the villages, the very, the greenery is killed by Agent Orange. Nothing grows in those areas until today. So the total destruction of the environment is actually part of the specialism of the West. And I want to say something about Western media. The whole war against Iran, the West against Iran, was treated like a great football game. Israel has killed so many generals, so this is like 7-0 or whatever the number is. This is how they treat it. They treat it as it's great fun. He came from the left, he ran, goal, yeah, and another one. This is how Western media treats the destruction of countries. And I think that is a very clear sign of its moral, political, social, historical decline and fall. The West has got the powers of destruction that are not easily available anywhere else, and it is using it for the first time without any qualifications and legal provisions and so on, and Israel is the pioneer of that. But that's not a sign of strength. That's what I'm saying. That is a sign of decline.
So that decline, I'm also measuring what I saw, what I witnessed was that for the first time, not only Israel, but America received ballistic missiles and hypersonic missiles, which were up to the standards or the grades of maybe even American firepower. So much so that we saw the David Sling, the Arrow systems, the THAAD systems, the Iron Dome. All of them were penetrated over and over again by the Iranian hypersonic and ballistic and missiles and drones as well. Now, do you think that's the only way that the people who are being oppressed in West Asia can really now go forward? Is the lesson that actually to deter Israel, you either need nuclear weapons or you need ballistic and hypersonic missiles? That's the only way you can actually have sovereignty and independence.
Well, I said that no one is safe as long as Israel is in the Middle East and Zionism is alive. But actually, no one is safe as long as the United States is there. You can see the end of Israel coming. I foresee it within a decade. Not because I have a crystal ball, but because I'm measuring Israeli society and what it is now doing. According to some reports, almost 1 million Israelis already left since October the 7th. Is this a sign of strength? I don't think so. Since the beginning of the war with Iran, Cyprus has been taken over by apparently more than 40,000 Israelis that have become boat people. They use yachts, the most, well-decorated boats that ever crossed with refugees on them. They are refugees. They are a la carte refugees, yeah? And they're now living in all the free places in Cyprus. And we can see this. Why did this happen? Because Israel closed the airports, but also closed the possibilities of using any flights that are leaving. Israel, the airlines are not allowed to take Israeli citizens out of Israel because they also saw that this is weakening society. It also means that people are either in Gaza, in the West Bank, attacking Iran, attacking the Houthis, attacking they're in Syria or attacking Lebanon and probably attacking some other country tomorrow. So the industry is not running. The whole system of food provision is failing because, boats cannot actually come from Asia or South Africa, etc. They can't pass the straits. The airplanes are not allowed to land. So not only are they running out of those marvelous missiles that you described, that they're running out of society. I want to say, though, about the missiles, you ask a very important question. What can we see and I can see the third world fighting against the first world. Why? Because the Iranian supersonic missile is something that's costing a lot of money, $100,000. That's a lot of money for Iran. But the missiles that are shooting these down, when they do, are costing more than $1 million. So here you have the third world fighting the first world with cheaper and more, sophisticated missiles. Not all of them pass through, but for each of those, Israel sends something between 4 and 6 different missiles to down them. So we're talking about a 1 to 20 formula. The 1 is, of course, Iran, and the 20 is Israel and the US. So there is also a political economic, a political economic perspective to this struggle. And Israel has to lose. It has to lose because they are shooting so many of those Iron Dome missiles that now they had to run to President Trump and say, can we stop this? Because we are not really, even you guys are not supplying us with enough because your system is not supplying enough of this. We are losing so many And forget about the money. Nobody is thinking about money, but money is very important. Both of those countries actually cannot pay their bills. The Americans cannot pay very large bills, and the Israelis also are paying large bills for this war because their economy is actually being stifled. This is not the case with Iran. Iran is a very large society, and they have prepared and produced very large amounts of cheaper missiles and drones, etc. So this is really a test case for a struggle between a third world society and a first world society, and the first world is losing. They're losing because they can't actually finance it. Partly it's a question of money, partly it's a question of they are not very good at it. So we've seen this in Ukraine as well, that the Western missiles and tanks and so on are not up to the Russian armaments that are put against them, Oreshnik and so on. So this is on many levels telling us what the future is going to be like. The future of America, Israel, Britain, France, and especially Germany is very bleak, because despite the fact that they specialize in destruction, they are not very good at it in the end, and they are losing the battle. It's not Iran that ran to President Trump, their very best friend, and said, "Can we end this war?" No, it was the Israelis that said, "We need a bit of a breather, because we can't really shoot all those missiles down. Our citizens are running away. The cities look." They are destroyed, yeah? Israel is very small. It doesn't take a lot to destroy it. It takes much more to destroy Iran. So this is, there is an interesting result for this very short war, which is not finished by any stretch of the imagination, because Israel has never once kept a ceasefire that it has agreed to. I'm not even sure Israel has agreed to a ceasefire. Trump has dreamt this up, told both sides that they have a ceasefire, that they have agreed, and that they will be great again. I mean, the man is demented. He lives in his own social media account rather than in the world. It's like finishing Ukraine in a week. Yeah, a week has passed, and more. So he now decided that the war is finished, and now it's all love and peace. And this is people across the world have learned painfully that you don't need to listen to America anymore. And the American citizens have also learned that while the Americans are attacking Iran, Los Angeles is rising against the king, the emperor. But he's not a king or an emperor. He's at most Caligula's horse, because he's a joker. People are afraid of him, that's for sure, because, he's very toxic. But he hasn't got an idea in his head, and he doesn't know what he thinks, because he doesn't think. So that is something that shows you the depths of decline of the strongest empire ever.
Razam, that was very comprehensive. I didn't want to disturb you because you were in a lovely flow and really giving us a fantastic foresight into what may happen. Sadly, we come to the end of the program. I'm sure we're going to have more discussions around this issue. The truth of the matter is that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are two individuals who I can't even begin to think of anybody worse in terms of creating a world which we could all regard as being safe and peaceful. On the other side, we have an Iran which has been maligned and stereotyped, and the character assassination of that nation has been going on incessantly for decades. But they have acted pretty responsibly, I would say. They've not been reactionary other than actually, once they've had their own cities bombed, having to then give back in kind. The world seems to have seen that. I think it does look increasingly like Iran is becoming almost like a champion for the people, and particularly when it comes to the memories of people around genocide in Gaza, as Professor Haim very eloquently outlined. I think that is still the theme that underlies where world opinion is. The leaders themselves, of course, they're bought into the imperialist system, and many of them won't move regardless. But I agree with Professor Haim that I think this is not over by a long shot. I don't think Israel is going to remain peaceful. I don't think it wants to see a peaceful West Asia. I'm not sure that America does either, which means that the forever wars are going to continue, but we can only pray that actually the world somehow brings these rogue states to book, whether that's done with China, Russia, and the entire rest of the world ganging up and actually declaring these nations as pariah states and boycotting, censoring, and completely cutting off relations with them. Perhaps that's the solution. But for that, the world leaders need to get a backbone and to understand that there is perhaps an alternative way of running this world without having empire dominating everything and causing chaos everywhere. Thank you for watching this edition of Deep Dive Perspective Talks. Until the next show, do please like, share, and subscribe so that we can bring more wonderful guests like Professor Haim Breshet to the show and to educate us all that little bit more. Thank you.
This is one of the few remaining coffee shops in Gaza City following 21 months of relentless Israeli bombardment that devastated most of the strip's leisure venues in Gaza City. People were turning to this coffee shop, to this place, for a short respite amid the relentless and escalating Israeli attacks. Yesterday, it was bombed by Israeli forces, leaving this big hole in one of the sides of this coffee shop. Around 33 Palestinians were actually killed during the attack, according to Gaza's Ministry of Health, including journalists and artists. For example, 32-year-old photojournalist Ismail Abu Hatab was killed in the attack, in addition to female boxer Malak Mislih, also a Palestinian visual artist Amina Al-Salmi was killed in the attack. In addition to these, dozens of people were injured, including Palestinian female journalist Bayan Abu Sultan.
اللي صار باختصار كان هذه القاعة مليانة ناس جاي تتفسح هان على البحر، خاردين من الضغط اللي برا وجايين هان. صارت الضربة فجأة، كل الموجودين ماتوا ولا واحد عاد. كل الموجودين ماتوا، يعني من كل الموجودين بس إصابتين تقريبا، تمام؟ وهي المجزرة أنت شايف، خبطوا هذا الصاروخ ولا واحد كان وقاعد غادي ساعة الخبطة. كان منظر يعني تقشعر له الأبدان، هان جثث، هان جثث، هان جثث، كله هذا جثث. هاي الدم شايف؟ هذا دم، هذا الكراسي هذا اللي مفرتك كلها قاعدين عليها ناس، كلهم انطحنوا فرموا فرق، كلهم ماتوا. طارت على البحر الجثث، طارت من فوق السطوح، مجزرة. أفظع يوم هذا اليوم من أول حرب لهالليل. مجزرة، ناس أبرياء يعني كلهم بنات وكلهم أطفال وكلهم ختيارية، ما يعني مش ساحة حرب أو ساحة قتال أو ساحة إيش اللي ما تستغربش، بحر ناس زي من ضغط البر تفرض هانا تفرغ شوي مات وكل هذا. يعني احنا امبارح يعني لما تقدر تقول شوال كبير لحم بني ادمين من هذه المنطقه. هان كان قاعد اختيار بالضبط، وهان كانت البنت اللي ميتة الله يرحمها. هان مجزره، كانت مجزره. كان هانا طفله، استنى شوي، هاي حذاء هان موجود. وين راح طفل اللي كانوا عاملين عيد الميلاد، هذوك جايبين لها دب فرحوها فيه، كان هانا حذاءها هان مرمي، مش عارف وين راح، ماتوا كلهم يا حرام.
فنازل عندنا اول الدهله لإشي بيبقى، فالغبار ما خلتناش نشوف إشي، فضليتني حافظ الطريق اجري. فجيت لقيت الشباب هنا في 2 1 3 هنا في 2 إخوة هنا، وفي كمان شاب غاد. جيت هلا لقيت كمان رجل مسن مرمي على الأرض غاد. طلعت جوا لقيت نسوان. هلا كان في عندنا هنا إلهم بيعملوا حفلة كذابة، يعني زي ما يقول نعمل فتة الكذابة. لا في كيك ولا في قهوة ولا في شاي ولا في كولا ولا شيء. بفرح الطفل جابوا الدبدوب إلهم هذاك اللي مرمي على الأرض، وجايين يعملوا عيد ميلاد. فكان العيد طفل قال له شفت المنظر. أنا تأثرت في المنظر كثير، أنا عمري ما بكيت، لكن لما طفلة بكيت. إمها استشهدت، طفلة استشهدت، وكمان إلى أخت كمان صابت، بس ما بعرف إصابتها خطيرة أو كانت ولا، لأنه كل هيته كان إيش؟ حركت. اطلع لقيت شهداء كثير 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 عدد شهداء. طب ليش؟ مكان هذا مين بيجي عليه؟ الناس اللي ترحلت من الشرق اجت على الغرب، خيمة لا فيها مكيف ولا فيها كهرباء ولا فيها شيء، من الحرب تلاقيهم بيشطوا وين؟ بيجوا على الأماكن هذه، يا بقعدوا على الشط يا بقعدوا هان يا ده، بقعدوا عادي يعني ما فيش عندهم أي مكان يروحوا إلا الأماكن هذه. كان بتواجد في المكان هذا في منهم صحفي، في فنانين برسموا في طلبة توجيه، في طلبة جامعات بدرسوا طبعا كل هيته كله منزلي هو، فبيجي على الأماكن هذه بتتوفر ممكن النت، ممكن يتوفر الإشي هذا، فبتواجد الإشي هذا فبيجوا هان. فاللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. فصار هذا الأماكن هذه طبعا ما بعرف، هذا مش مكان حروب ولا مكان أي شيء. هنا ناس بتيجي بتترفع على نفسها. أنا واحد من الناس مثل باجي بقعد هنا الصبح، بروح باجي العصر بقعد، يعني مفيش أماكن عندنا، لا في تكييف، الخيام ما بتذبحنا.
As you can see here, this is a complete devastation of the coffee shop, and there are remains of what the victims were doing before the bomb was dropped. For example, here is a cup of coffee that remains on the ground, also a shoe. But the most devastating of these is a teddy bear, where a mother and a child were having a birthday, or a fake birthday party as they call, without a birthday cake due to the Israeli blockade and restrictions. This teddy bear was brought by the mother to her 2-year-old child along with the family to celebrate her second birthday. According to eyewitnesses, both the mother and the child were killed in the attack, in addition to several family members. Actually, people were considering this place or this coffee shop a respite amid the relentless Israeli bombardments across the Strip. We know that for the past week, Israel has been escalating its attacks on the Gaza Strip, also issuing evacuation orders to northern and eastern parts of Gaza City and the Gaza Strip in particular, ordering residents to move to the western parts of Gaza City and particularly the southwestern parts of the Gaza Strip, particularly Mawasi Khan Yunis area. So this area is located actually in western Gaza City, which is an area that is considered less dangerous than the rest of the Strip. Yet it was bombed with heavy bombs, devastating the infrastructure of the place and killing at least 33 Palestinians.
Every commander can choose for himself what he does, so it's kind of like Wild West. And so some commanders can really decide to do war crimes and do bad things and like don't have very consequences of that.
But how is this not front page news? Israeli soldier admits war crimes on camera. An Israeli reservist who served in Gaza has told Sky News IDF troops killed Palestinian civilians at random, with orders to shoot sometimes dependent on the mood of the commander. Let's listen.
An Israeli reservist who served in Gaza has told Sky News IDF troops killed Palestinian civilians at random, with orders to shoot sometimes dependent on the mood of the commander. The IDF strongly denies the claim, saying it operates against military targets, not civilians. Our international correspondent, Alex Rossi, has the story for us.
I think everything in war is kind of messes you up.
It is rare to hear Israeli soldiers speak openly about their time in Gaza. But after 3 tours of duty, this reservist says his conscience won't let him stay silent.
Every commander can choose for himself what he does, so it's kind of like Wild West. And so some commanders can really decide to do war crimes and do bad things and like don't have very consequences of that.
He agreed to talk on condition of anonymity, fearing he could be labelled a traitor or ostracised at home. These photos were taken while he was serving in Gaza, where he was stationed in the homes of displaced Palestinians.
I think you can't be in this scenario for so long and not like normalize it and not like kind of you lose your mind and then killing is more and more normalized and you can't see the problem in it. Kind of feel like I took part of something bad, and so I think it's like I need to counter it with something good that I do, and I hope that by speaking of it, it can change like how things are being done. And I think a lot of people, if they knew exactly what's happening, they wouldn't. It wouldn't go down very good for them, and they won't agree with it.
Alex Rossi, Sky News, Jerusalem.
So that's Sky News reporting that. That's like the equivalent of Fox News reporting that.
I'll gather my men and wait. We'll stand ready to seize the blasting powder once the camp is clear.
So there you have IDF soldier telling you, yeah, we do it all the time. It gets normalized. War crimes, shooting civilians. And that's how the country got started. People forget about this. That's how Israel got started, with a thing called the Nakba. There's a documentary called Tantura. It shows Israelis admitting to murdering Palestinians during the 1948 Nakba. Not just murdering them, but terrorizing them, murdering them in the most brutal way, and raping them, teenage girls. And they laugh about it. You think I'm kidding? So watch. The events in Tantura were crazy and horrifying. You can turn it down. Tantura was a rich village and had beautiful houses. Its residents lived like Europeans, you know. And the women of the village used to wear nice clothes, for real. It was a village, and he's laughing. One of the soldiers raped a 16-year-old girl. He's laughing. Do you understand? The events were horrendous. There was this guy with us, a soldier. He was a brutal human being. He took them, Palestinians, and put them in a cage, and he killed them. They gathered them in something like a cage and put iron wires around them. They gathered all the men, sat them on the ground, and one of the soldiers got the submachine gun and shot them. He changed the cartridge. What do you think? But we were not like that. The person was different and unusual. They imposed a cover-up. There were soldiers that took flamethrowers and ran after the villagers and burned them. And no one is allowed to talk about that. I won't talk about it because it would be a big scandal. And he's laughing. I don't want to talk about it. The first 3 or 4 months I was a murderer, this guy says. What does it mean? I took no prisoners. In a battle, if someone raised their hands, I didn't arrest them. That traumatized me. I can't get over it until today. If school kids stood up and raised their hands and saw them that day, I would have killed all of them. How many people have you killed this way? He says, I didn't count. I wouldn't be able to know. And then he laughs. He laughs about it. I had 250 bullets in my gun. And I shot them and it killed everyone. I can't count. So that's how the country got started, and that's how it's been going ever since. Slaughtering innocent civilians. That's why they call it a genocide. That's why the UN calls it a genocide. That's why the ICC calls it a genocide. That's why it is. Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
It's July the 5th, 2025. I'm in my little studio. I've just been at work on a piece of brown cardboard with a Sharpie. I'm going to now switch this over to the other lens. There you go. So this says Roger Waters supports Palestine action, 5th of July 2025. Parliament has been corrupted by agents of a genocidal foreign power. Stand up and be counted. It's now. I didn't have space for or never, but it's now. That's enough. All right. I'm just going to switch back. It's now. This is the moment. I am Spartacus.
No wonder this stuff burns so well.
Okay, this is Independence Day, July the 5th, 2025. I declare my independence from the government of the UK, who've just designated Palestine Action a terrorist, prescribed terrorist organisation. For the record, 5th of July, I support Palestine Action. It's a great organisation. They are non-violent. They are absolutely not terrorist in any way. They are a non-violent protest organisation protesting the presence in the UK of Elbit Systems, who are an Israeli arms manufacturing organisation. All right, so that's that. I support Palestine Action, and I always will, because that is the right thing to do. So following, I saw George Monbiot, the journalist, said yesterday, this is the I am Spartacus moment. I am Spartacus. So good on you, George, and good on everybody who is standing up everywhere and saying, I am Spartacus. We will not be rolled over by this appalling Labour government in the United Kingdom. Palestine Action is not a terrorist organisation, so they are lying, and they have put their lies into the law of the land. So there we are. That's all I have to say. Independence, okay? We must support our brothers and sisters in Palestine and support them no matter what. So good on you. What was your name? Villain. Good on you, villain. And the rest of you who are standing up to be counted. I love you. I love you. Bye.
No wonder this stuff burns so well.